Welcome, this is the review for Spanish 2 for Mr. Jones's class for week 2 from August 31st to September 4th. This week we went over sports vocabulary. As you can see on the screen, we learned about some different sports, and let's go down the list. So for baseball, we saw that lanzador is pitcher, la pelota, ball, el bate, el guante, atrapar, and correr. Notice these last two are verbs. One's an AR verb and one's an ER verb. We can also learn how to conjugate these verbs so we can use them in sentences. So if you wanted to say, I run, look at the verb correr and remember how to conjugate ER verbs with yo. So it would be yo corro is I run. If you wanted to say you run, remember back to our personal pronouns. So we've got yo is I, tu is you, and then for tu and these ER verbs, they end with es. So you would say tú corres. Nosotros corremos, ellos corren. Those are just some of the verbs that we reviewed. This week we worked more on vocabulary. Last week it's verbs. But we want to be practicing every week so that we can speak in sentences and that we can use these correctly. All right, moving on to football, soccer. We've got portero for goalie, meter un gol, el tiempo, or if it's two, you could say los tiempos for halves, tocar, to touch, and el campo de fútbol. Basketball or baloncesto. Driblar, to dribble, encestar, make a basket, tirar, to throw, and then la cancha is court. So for basketball, you would tirar, and then it wouldn't be like in baseball, la pelota. La pelota is when you're talking about the smaller ball for the sports. When it's a bigger one, you would say el balón. All right, and tenis, we've got la raqueta, dobles, la red, and golpear. Notice golpear here is a verb too. So if you wanted to say I hit, yo golpeo. Yo golpeo la pelota. I hit the ball. In all of our sports, jugador is player. So we'll work together to make some sentences. El jugador, the player, lanza la pelota. Remember back to our verbs. Lanzar is the verb. But since we're talking about el, we need to conjugate it to lanza. Same thing here with driblar. Driblar is the verb, but we're talking about el jugador, so we got to conjugate our verb. El jugador dribla, the player dribbles. And then the last sentence we got here, la jugadora, which would be the female player, golpea, remember up to golpear is to hit. So we need to change the ending. And remember for those AR, when we're talking about AR or L, we change it to A. So she hits the ball. Next week, we're going to still be working on sports vocabulary. We're also going to be getting into irregular verbs. So we saw these verbs end normally, but if you want to get a head start for next week, take a look at some irregular verbs and their changes.